Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call. To access the Zoom call, we're here on her website, CathyDSlaght.com. We're going to scroll down and look for the Zoom banner, and we'll join the call. Now, this is an SRC4u software demonstration. If you'd like to be part of the group, you can come up here and click, and it's a monthly fee. We'll click here. That'll take us over to the Zoom platform, where we will allow You're connecting up. We will join with audio.
Well, it's 10 o'clock, and I think Dr. Kersey just entered. And welcome, Dr. Kersey.
Good morning.
Good morning. I know that you had, oh, yay, we can even see you.
Oh, hello there, Dr. Kersey. Wonderful seeing you.
Well, I know you run a very professional ship here, so I decided you deserve to have visual aids.
Oh, boy.
No, actually, the truth is I have to have visual aids to show people. So
I love it.
They'll have to put up and looking at me.
Well, I'm going to turn this over to you, and I'm just going to be doing our session in the background.
I don't think anyone has heard the whole story. And over the years, when I come across different types of energy medicine healers, I would notice that I would mention color healing, and they would always nod and shake their head. Oh, yes, I know all about that. And then I would talk to them, find out they didn't know anything. And I'm in that same boat. I'm not putting anybody down. I didn't know anything either. In fact, I knew less than most people. And I knew that you could balance energy with color, but I had no idea what you could do with color. And then I kind of put color in its own, like a little category, like you've got homeopathy, herbs, nutrition, color. I had it in a little, it's just like it's one of those many things. So if someone says, oh, I'm not feeling well, I need some type of treatment, then you would decide, let's see, what tool do I need for this person? And you can use color that way. I think I mentioned last time I burned my finger once. And I took a blue transmitter card and I held the blue over my finger, and 10 seconds it stopped hurting. And I thought, is this a coincidence? Is it like a placebo? Because I'm always looking for that. I always watch for placebo. So then I picked up a red card and put that on my finger. Oh my God, in about 10 seconds, it started hurting and throbbing. So I took that off and put the blue on. And all of a sudden, the pain went away again. So I wasn't sure if I believed that, because I'm in energy medicine as deep as anybody else, but I always want to be scientific. I'm always trying my best to be, So I did it about 8 or 9 times, going back and forth and back and forth. And there was no question the color made my finger stop hurting on the blue. So that's easy. Anybody could understand that. Blue is cooling, red increases circulation and temperature. But I had no idea that color is a completely different level. So when you start going into energy medicine healing, like at the very, very top, you could call it prayer or God. That's the top. But then when you go one step below that, you've got color. Color can change. It changes your all the levels of your aura. It works within the spiritual realm, works in the astral plane. It works in all those levels. Whereas most energy medicine healing devices, they don't work that high. For example, magnetism. You can do amazing things with magnets, but they only work in a lower level. They won't work up in the spiritual realm. So I started getting a new feel or interest in color, and I realized that I completely missed the boat and I didn't know what I was doing with color. So of course the universe then sees that and starts sending me people and seminars on color. And I took a color with a color class on psychology of color, how to use color and how to figure out your personality. And I took that seminar. the lady that taught that started to share with us that she got a call from the government, and they said, we'd like you to come to Washington, D.C., and maybe you can help pick out new colors for our building. And she was flattered. And she said, oh, great. So they flew her out to Washington, D.C., and they took her into a room, and she sat there for a while, and two men came in, and she started realizing that's not what she was there for. They flew her there, and they grilled her for a day on where she learned the color, who told it to her, was it channeled, who was it that channeled it, and she could not believe this. And then after she went back home, she had a car, unmarked car followed her for a long time after this. I started getting the idea that color, there's more to color than we think. It's more powerful than we think. It doesn't seem very powerful. It seems like, oh, my life is going downhill. I think I'll use yellow and blue. That sounds like an 8-year-old would come up with that. There's more to it. I then started working with another lady in Michigan, and that's the part we're going to talk about today. And they developed microcrystal cards, and I flew to Michigan because she was doing miracles with color. So I flew to Michigan, and she starts telling us how every time they did a convention, there'd be somebody in the audience from the government. And one day she was doing a convention, like 200 or 300 people there, and a guy stood up and said, "Excuse me, now are you saying you can cure pain with your microcrystal cards?" She goes, "No, you can soothe pain, not cure. You can soothe." So the people working with her, they'd never heard her do that before. They'd never heard that word. So when it was all over, they said, "What? Who was that guy?" She was, "Oh, honey, he was with the government." And because she was psychic, she knew that stuff. As soon as he stood up, she knew he was with the government. So she knew to be careful. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking about the first lady that flew to Washington. Now here's a woman, overweight, big old lady talking about color, and the government sends an agent to monitor. I'm thinking, what's going on here? And so she started teaching classes in Michigan, and she told us for 1 year there was a brown, unmarked car that sat across the street and watched their trailer. She lived in a double wide, and it sat across the street and watched them for a year, a brown, unmarked car. And I'm thinking, no, there's no unmarked cars for herbs. They're everywhere. You can get those anywhere. There's no unmarked cards for homeopathy. It was just interesting how there was something different about color. And I started realizing the higher ups, they're afraid of color. So I started thinking there's something, I've missed the boat totally on the power of color. It's so subtle, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it's a gigantic deal. Because why is the government, everybody I meet and talk to, they're being followed on color? I've never been followed, I don't know. They're that way with radionics too. They're very fussy with that. But color, I just thought that was very interesting. My brother-in-law, we put on a convention once, my wife and I did. We had about 150 people there, and there was a lady that used these cards, these microcrystal cards that I'm going to talk about. She decided to treat my brother-in-law, and he was like maybe, 80 pounds overweight, 80, 90 pounds overweight, and she laid these cards on top of him. And in 15 minutes, she took them off, and the next day he'd lost 5 pounds. So the universe is talking to me saying, "Gary, are you paying attention? Are you getting it?" Because I was a slow learner. Color did not seem like a big deal to me. I was into homeopathy, acupuncture, all kinds of NLP. I was doing all kinds of powerful stuff. Color got shoved off to the side. It didn't seem like a big deal. I gradually learned that it's like at the top, it's as high as you, it's like there's all the modalities of healing. Then there's color, then there's God. That's pretty wild. And I didn't understand that. Now I do. So the main story, here's the good stuff. There was a man that he was an attorney, and he every morning he told me when he woke up there was a phone number in his head, a complete phone number, and he ignored that phone number because it seemed stupid to have a phone number. He said this went on for a month. Finally, after a month, he decides I have to call this number. So he calls the number. It's in Michigan. Guess who picks up the phone? A lady picks up the phone, and you know what her exact words were? Because I said, "Is this what she said?" She said, "It's about time. We thought you were never going to call." He thought that was rather interesting. I did too. So they were sending that phone number to him. So he said, "Who are you, and why should I care?" And what happened? There was a entity. I'll call entity. I think it's basically female. She lived in Atlantis. She was a healer, roughly 50,000 years ago. If you look up Atlantis in the years, everybody disagrees on exactly how long we had Atlantis. But she said 50,000 years ago. She came to this time to introduce microcrystal cards. Her job was to introduce them and then leave again. And that's exactly what she did. She introduced them, then she left. And she chose this one lady living very overweight, has no money, lives in a double wide. She picked her because they were related. In Atlantis, they worked together in Atlanta. So she chose her. Also, she was psychic. So she could see and hear energies and stuff. So this gal from Atlantis says, "Will you work with me? Will you help me introduce these products?" She said, "Yes, I'll be glad to." So when she gave permission, she then started teaching. And I started hearing these amazing stories from my friend George, the attorney. And they were amazing. And I had to go see for myself. I didn't doubt it. I just wanted to be part of it. So I flew to Michigan, and we had a 2-day workshop. And it was very interesting. We sat there in front of this lady, overweight, sitting there chain smoking cigarettes. And I think for breakfast she was having a candy bar. Not into health. And she said, "Well, I think she's here. Are you all ready?" We said, "Yes, we're ready." So she just closed her eyes and drops her head. And later I asked her, "What are you doing?" She said she leaves her body entirely. She would actually leave her body. So we're talking about a 50,000-year-old walk-in, not a psychic. And she said she would go down to the pond, watch the ducks eat, watch the geese. And after a while, she'd start feeling tired. And she realized she needed to get back into her body. It would take about an hour or two for that to happen. So she would leave her body. In comes the 50,000-year-old entity. And she has an accent. She said, "Good morning, everyone," like that. And she takes the glasses off and she goes, "We don't need these." And she tosses the glasses. She picks up the cigarettes. She goes, "Disgusting." And she throws the cigarettes down. And then she begins to teach. And we're taking notes like crazy. And one day, she did a workshop for dentists. And this is what got me motivated to go to Michigan, in case you're wondering why I did that. George said that these dentists file in to this double wide with this lady sitting there in an old, beat up dress, smoking a cigarette. He said their faces they were shocked. They were thinking, well, I've stepped in it this time. I'm stuck here. How did I get talked into this? And so they were a little skeptical. And of course, her head drops and she comes on, "Good morning, everyone." And before she left her body, she didn't know anything about dentistry. When she left her body and the entity came in, the Atlantean gal, do you know she knew everything about dentistry, all the technical words, all the medical words, all the dental diseases. She knew everything. And when she started talking to these dentists, George said it was the neatest thing. They first started out kind of negative and, looking kind of like, oh my God, what have I done? He said, man, they perked up. Their eyes got big. Their pens started flying across the page. They were taking notes. And she taught them stuff about healing with color with dental issues. And George said there's nothing every question she knew the answer, and she used medical terminology. She knew everything. She knew stuff they didn't know about dentistry. So they realized right away they were no longer talking to a lady that, sits around a double wide and smokes cigarettes. She wasn't there anymore. This was a walk-in. So when I heard that, I was on the next plane to Michigan, see. So I started using the products. They had lots of different products. They were all based around aluminum plates with crystals on them. And this is what they look like. They were called microcrystal cards. And you would lay them on the person, and you could actually treat different conditions. You could put them in your pocket, under your pillow, whatever you wanted to use color for. But Kathleen, the entity from Atlantis, she knew stuff about color I'd never heard of. And she told us that everything that we need to know about healing that's available now is about 1%. We know almost nothing about healing. I was kind of surprised. But I did a lot of research on color and books. By the way, my wife and I, we collect books on color healing. At home here in the library, we have 400 books on color. And I started noticing there was overlap. A lot of people were saying the same types of things. My Atlantean lady, she did not do that. She would bring in totally new, brand new information that was not available to this planet. That's why she came in. So these were the cards. They also have symbols. You can see that symbol. There's a symbol there. This is green, and it has a symbol shaped like that. This is yellow. It's got a symbol shaped like that. These symbols actually create the color along with the plate. So, and I asked her, can you heal and balance an energy just with the symbol? She said you can, but it's better to have the color along with the symbol. I'd never seen the symbol before in my whole life. I decided someday I would want to use these symbols. But they were copyrighted. So I paid my friend I forget what it was, I think it was like $1,200 or something. And I bought the 99-year rights to the symbols. So I'm the only, as far as I know, I'm the only person in the country and maybe the world that owns the rights to using the symbols. And I have used the symbols by themselves. They're very good. They were sending these cards all over the world. One day, I called my friend, my attorney friend. He said, I'm real busy today. I'm sending out 1,000 of these to India. And he had people all over the world buying these things. And by the way, they were in many bookstores on a display. And like a rotating rack, you could turn it, and it had all these colors in little bags. But they couldn't say much because who would have stopped them. And so on Indigo, there'd be a little baggie with the with this card in there, and then written on it was wisdom, intuition, release of habits. That was for indigo. For orange, it had creative energy, intimacy, release of fear. Let's see, here's red. Red is spiritual strength, sexuality, individuality. So those words, that the government didn't have a problem with those words. If they were to start talking more about the color, there would have been a problem. And that's a story for another. I won't go into that, but the government, let's just say, they let a lot of things slide through for healing in the way of devices and gizmos and gadgets. But when it comes to color, they have no tolerance. They will not let that through. They're on you. Now, it looks like today, as of today, things are better, and people are doing a lot of things with color. If you go online, you'll see all kinds of people with healing recommendations. Take my word for it. 25 years ago, they would have been shut down the next day. They're saying things right now, they would have closed them down the next day. And they did that to people over and over and over. My friend that used to make these, they came into his office regularly, and they would look around, they'd see a big stack of brochures, they'd pick them up and walk out with them. They did all kinds of weird things like that. He had no power over his own products. They did not like him because he was doing color. And I started noticing, I've not seen them do that with other modalities. You can't name me in a modality where they got that nasty. But when it came to color, they did not like color. And that lady I told you about that they flew to Washington, she said the people that interviewed her knew a lot about color. They weren't just a bunch of hacks. They knew a lot about color. And she realized that they wanted to know how much she knew and where she learned it and just what she planned to do with the color. So they were afraid of color. I don't know any other modality they were that way. So that's how I started getting fired up about color, that there's more to it than we think. It does more than we think it does. And at the workshop I went to in Michigan, there was a young man that had a scoliosis. Do you guys know what scoliosis is? Curvature of the spine.
Yes.
She laid him down on his tummy, and she put some cards on both sides of his spine. And in about 10 minutes, his spine went straight. Later, she went outside and she created a vortex with her hand. I don't know how she did it. She waved her hand in the backyard and created an energy vortex. And then one of the people at the seminar stood in the center of it. And when they stepped into the center, their hair stood on end, right straight up. And when they stepped out, the hair went back down again. So I've seen things that are just you can't even. I had a patient come in once, and she had a problem. She was afraid of insects. Did not like insects. She wanted a perfect clean house. If your house was clean but you had a bug, then your house was dirty. And I had some cards. They were actually violet colored, and they were made specially to clear the field of the house. And they were made out of this, the purple. So she went out in her garage and put these in the corners of the garage. And she was irritated because there was always cobwebs everywhere. All the windows would have cobwebs every week because spiders would make cobwebs, of course. And I told her, I said, well, lady, this is Florida. She said, I don't care. I'm sick and tired of spiders. Do you know 1 week after putting the purple cards up, 1 week after putting these up in the corners of the garage, all the cobwebs, they weren't there anymore. And she never had to clean cobwebs ever again.
Wow.
Why? Because there was no spiders anymore. Why were there no spiders? No flies. And then to top it off, my friend George, they did an experiment on a farm. They had a farm. They had 2 hen houses. They're chicken coops is a better word for it. And there were chickens in there. And of course, a chicken coop outside on a farm, how many flies do you think were around those? I mean, we're talking thousands. They put these cards around one of the chicken coops. And in a few hours, there was almost no flies there anymore. The chicken coop next to it was inundated with, there were thousands of flies all over this chicken coop. But the chicken coop right next to it, almost no flies. They then had a farmer, he purchased, you can get these cards from the government. It's a grid, and they're sticky. And you put them out on your farm. The next day or so, you go out and you look at the card, and there'll be bugs stuck to it. And somehow, based on how many bugs are stuck on there, you can get an estimate of how many bugs there are in an acre of your field. It's a pretty good estimate. So he went out, put these cards up 1 acre apart. They have to be perfectly across from each other because you're creating a field, an energy field, like a vortex. He put those up, puts his card up. The other day when he did the card, it would be almost black with bugs. He put these cards up. In a couple of days, he goes back. The card, I think, had 1 bug. Instead of several hundred, it had 1. All the bugs left that area, that acre, and did not go there anymore because of the energy shift. So I started getting a whole new respect for color. I realized that you can do almost anything with it. The catch is you have to know how to use it. And all the Atlantean ways of using it, how they use them in Atlantis, we don't have any training for that. We have no books on it. There's lots of books on Atlantis that are all interesting, but they don't talk about how they use color, the specific steps. And the thing is, a few years ago, no one knew, and the government wouldn't have allowed that anyway. There's certain people that would have stepped in and said, yeah, this is a great book you have here. You won't be selling that. And by the way, you guys already know that. That happens all the time. You probably know that the free energy devices, I've been told there's 5,000 patents for free energy devices, but they're not allowed to sell them. So they got a patent, they got the whole, did everything right. And at the last second, government came in and said, this is an incredible device you have. We love it, but you won't be selling it. And then so that's not big news. That's been around for a long time. So nothing new there. So for reasons I don't know, this company went out of business, and I lost track of the people that were running it. Now they're not available. I can't get a hold of them anymore. I don't know what happened, but they just disappeared. The sales, I think, went down because only so many people understand color, and then other people don't. I don't know what it was. They disappeared. So that was the end. So I had 1 set for myself. I would have bought a whole bunch of sets. I would have bought maybe, 30, 40, 50 sets if I knew they were going out of business. And I didn't know. And one day I called up and said, they have to order some plates. And he says, let me check and see if I have those colors. And he left. I said, any left? What do you mean any left? He goes, yeah, we don't make them anymore. So my guess is, and I think it's a good one, he got tired of the hassle. And I won't waste your time. I mean, if you want, you can always call me, but it doesn't help anything. It's just negative. It's just a bunch of crap that he had to go through on a daily basis of harassment over and over. It gets old. And I don't condemn anybody. He probably stuck with this longer than most people would have. But the harassment got ridiculous. They did not want color or these products available, period. And that was it. So they disappeared. So times have changed. It's now 2021. And since I have the biotheric discs, which I came up with, and by the way, and this is no big secret, the crystals I use in the discs are aluminum oxide. That's the type of crystal. There's a reason for that. I believe it would work with other crystals too, but it's the shape of the crystal, the actual geometry. And I decided if a 50,000-year-old walk-in from Atlantis comes here for a very short time and leaves and brought a gift that used aluminum oxide crystals, why in God's name would I turn around and use something different? That is stupid. So I use aluminum oxide crystals in all my discs. And these plates I showed you, they have the crystals embedded. So the aluminum oxide crystals on the surface. On mine, they're put in here. And so what I did was I have the discs. You'll see on there's a symbol. So that's the actual copyrighted symbol that I own. That's the one from Atlantis. I put that on there. And now these can be used for color balancing. We're not going to use the word color healing. I think I'm going to avoid that. A lot of people use that, but I just, and I could be paranoid, but when people say I'm paranoid, I then say, do you have about 15 minutes? And if they say yes, I go, okay, let me tell you a little bit about my past, what I've been through, and then you tell me if I'm paranoid. And after 15 minutes, they always go, okay, you're not paranoid, we get it. So I've been through a lot with government stuff. And if they don't like something, they don't like something. There's a machine called a diapulse that was around for years. It's a machine that pulses diathermy, and it does other things for you, and it can actually affect cancer and stuff. And I was told by a good source that when the FDA got a new president, they came into his office and they said, we want you to take your hand and wipe everything on your desk, dump it in the floor. Don't start any new projects. We want the diapulse gone. And they set out to destroy that machine, and they did. They got rid of it. The manual was this thick. They reduced it to a manual about like this. And finally, one page, it says, on and off. Push here for on, push. So my point is, if you're wondering why in God's name did he go there? When they want to get rid of something, they get rid of it. And a lot of things they're not afraid of. They're not afraid of acupuncture. I'm not putting down acupuncture. I love acupuncture, love it. But they're not crazy about getting rid of it or hampering it legally. They kind of just let them do whatever. So they're not really worried about acupuncture changing the entire globe spiritually. Okay, but color, totally different story. They're afraid of it. So, but that was 25 years ago. Now the lady that I work with that helps that does my printing and website design, she says that I'm an old fogey and I'm being paranoid. He said I need to come into the real world, the modern world. She said times have changed, and maybe she's right. So I'm still not going to go out on a limb and tell people, call it healing. We'll call it balancing, because that's a better word anyway. But if you can learn how to use these, you can do some amazing things. So we have 20 colors, just like with the cards. We'll have 20 colors, same exact symbols. same type of crystals, and then we'll begin to teach people how to use these based on what I learned from the lady from Atlantis. And I went online looking for color healing in Atlantis. There must be, I couldn't find anything, but there must be something there. If any of you guys find stuff, for goodness sake, send it to me. I want to read it and I want to see it. But I just a cursory review, I couldn't find anything on how the Atlanteans used color. But I feel very, very proud that I got to actually work with a person from Atlantis. And the things she did, there was no question she was not a quack or, that type of thing. She was the real deal. The things she did were, well, I covered a few of those things she did. Absolutely amazing with the healing work and the dentist, the acupuncturist. But I don't know, color, people can't, it's hard for them to get their teeth into it. It's hard to grasp. It's a very spiritual thing and very powerful. But you do have to know how to use it too. You can't use if you use the wrong color, what's going to happen? Nothing, because you used the wrong color. So you've got to have some training. But my website gal, she assures me that people are ready now. They're ready, and that it's she thinks it's acceptable and legal. Just use your common sense. Don't go off and say things that are ridiculous. And she thinks that we have a chance of maybe reviving this. So that was the purpose of my talk today. Tell people about it. We don't even have the first set ready. We're working on that. So we're working on improving the design, getting them ready. And I think we'll introduce the 7 basic colors. We also talked about the seven basic colors plus black and pink, because you can do things with the black and pink. I had a patient actually come into my office that had breast cancer, a breast lump, and she used the black card. This one. Every day she laid that card on her breast, the tumor disappeared entirely. Her doctor was like scratching his head. He said he'd never seen a tumor do that.
Wow.
And that's using just the black. Now, what if I were to use, and it wasn't me, it was somebody else that taught her how to do that. But what if I would have come along and said, I think you need green? Wouldn't have worked. You have to know what you're doing. The black is also very good for bringing out negative emotions. It just draws them out of things, and then they're just gone. Just absorbs them. So you can do a lot of neat things, but you have to know how to use it and how to apply it. So my gal wants to do the 7 chakra colors plus the pink and the black. But we also want to make available, if somebody wants, we could do all the colors. I want to have all the color discs available with all the different colors, the sky blue and the dark blue and the turquoise and the pink and all the different colors, all 20. So that's our goal, is to do that. So we're working on that, and I think within the next week we'll begin to have some available, the chakra colors. And that's about all I have. If anybody's got questions, you can, I guess, ask now, or you can call me and we can chat.
I have 4 little questions. Do you know how long the lady used the black plate?
That I don't know. Yeah, how long it took, I don't know.
Okay.
Nope.
And the diapulse, is that the same as diathermy?
It's similar. Diathermy is a continuous electromagnetic wave that heats tissue, and they use it for back problems and stuff. And I don't remember the guy's name. He got the idea to pulse it at certain frequencies, and he's found out that certain frequencies could heal certain things.
Is that still available? Or say not?
What's that?
Is that still available?
Oh, goodness, no.
Okay, because I saw diathermy, but I was in Costa Rica when I saw that the last time, and I remember when they had diathermy in the States. I don't know if they still do, but
I think physiotherapists and stuff still use diathermy for heating. But by the way, I should tell you, I talked to a lady a few years ago that was a physiotherapist, and what she said was disgusting. But what can I say? It's what she said. She said, Gary, we have a room jam-packed with equipment. And she said, we don't use it anymore. I said, why not? She said, they write prescriptions.
wow.
So
Two more little questions. One, what effect would putting that in plastic, the aluminum oxide crystals versus the metal plate, wouldn't that be a little different effect?
Not really, because the way the crystals are working, at least the way we do the crystals, I have a machine that I download frequencies. So the crystals are like little tiny tape recorders, if you want to think of it that way.
Uh-huh.
And I actually, and I always tell people that I can't stand companies that everything's secret. Oh, you can't know that. That irritates me. So
Yeah.
I don't mind telling people everything. The only thing I don't tell people, well, two things, is what the equipment is, because that's proprietary, and what is it I put in the crystals, because that's a proprietary thing.
Right.
So, but I actually program the crystals with a machine, and that way you're getting not only the color and the symbol effect, but you're getting what's in the crystals too.
Oh, great.
That
Well,
makes sense?
last question. What is your website?
I think we should, Cathy, should we send, there's biotheorenenergy.com,
Okay.
and then another one is biotheric.com. They're both a little different.
Okay. Thank you so
Well,
much.
you're welcome. Yeah, go ahead, Ronald.
I got a question, Doctor. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. The question I have is that when you buy these plates, you get a package, or you have to buy them individually?
Oh, when they sold the plates, you could get them individually or as a complete set of all 20. Okay.
Yeah, because I was just wondering if you buy them individually, or you buy them in a group or in a stack.
Yeah, you can buy. Yeah. So I decided to do. So of course the cards are no longer available, and I guess it wouldn't have been the end of the world if I got a hold of a manufacturing company and sent them one and said, I would like some more of these. You know what I mean? But it didn't seem right. It's like their day has come and gone. Like the Diapulse. The Diapulse was there, it's come and gone. And so I just thought, that's when I got the idea that this is now 2021. Why not do it a different way? Mm-hmm. And it just made more sense. And these are also very heavy to mail. It just made more sense to come into the new, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we have these now.
All right.
Yep.
Dr. Kersey, I have a question. You talked about the black and the pink. You told us about the black. What can you tell us about the color pink? Because I've just been impressed to paint my bedroom pink. And I guess I will, although I didn't buy that color paint. I'll go today and get it. What can you
color is it's kind of complicated a little bit, because based on, for example, every letter of your name has a color, and it's not unusual that a person will take their name and look at the colors, and there may be a color missing entirely.
Wow.
And I've worked with other people I didn't just dream this up one night. I've actually taken seminars on this, and that actually has an effect. If you have absolutely no red in your name, that will have an effect on your life. So personality and color makes a difference. If you're going through a period of your life where you're feeling trapped or something, or not unloved, the pink will create the feeling of love. So what will happen is you would be drawn towards the pink. And it would make sense why you would want pink. Some people just like certain colors, and there's a reason for all that. You can't always know the answer, but there's always a reason for everything. So all the planets have a color. Your name has color. A lot of times a woman will marry a man because of the color that he brings into her name. And that, I know that sounds far out and far-fetched, but and I believed it was far-fetched until I took the workshops. And now I don't believe that anymore. It's crazy what we do for color. It's something in the background, and we're not aware of it, but it's always there. It's always working on our spirit, because it works from the spiritual side down. So yes, you can use color balancing for something as silly as a burnt finger, but you can also use it for emotional balancing and for helping your mind function better psychologically, and also for spiritual purposes. And a lot of spiritual healers use color, and even the Bible talks about the breastplate, the gemstones, and that type of thing. It may not actually say color healing in the Bible, but there's color in there. If you know where to look, it's very interesting. And I tell people I don't knock acupuncture and homeopathy and herbs and nutrition and diet and stress management and meditation. All those are good. I've used them all in my practice. I use them now. So I'm not knocking any of that. But when you get into color balancing, you're in a whole other realm. It's a whole other. It's like a circle within a circle. You're encompassing more things with the color. So our goal is to begin to teach what I learned based on Atlantean color. I don't need to go into all the mundane color stuff, because you know why? The internet already has that, and it looks pretty good. I don't see anything bad about that. It's just I can add to that with the new information that's not on the internet. Because I felt bad when they discontinued training, but I called one day and they said, "Oh no! Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you this. The lady from Atlantis, I would hire her once a week, and actually, with the credit card and everything, paid for her time, and she would go over certain patients with me. If I was having issues with certain patients, I wanted to add another treatment modality, or maybe there was a patient that I felt like I should be doing better with. She would actually help. She would actually analyze those people. And boy, was she good. I would say, I have this one patient, she'd start telling me about them, and I hadn't even given her the name yet. I mean, as soon as I thought of the person, she knew who I meant. And I'm in Florida, and she's in Michigan. One day, she called on the phone. Now, it's not the lady with the trailer. She was down by the pond, and the entity was in her body. She called, said, "We have a lady friend of ours. She's in very bad shape. She has a Harrington rod in her spine." I don't know if you guys know what that is, but when you have a scoliosis, sometimes they would make your spine straight and surgically place this rod. That rod had come undone, come loose. I didn't even know they could do that. She was in horrible pain. So I said, "Oh my God, what?" I was afraid they're going to refer to me, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do with that? They weren't referring her. My entity friend, she says she's doing a lot better. She's sleeping a lot better. We put the violet card underneath her pillow, and she's sleeping great. But she still has the pain in the spine. And you have a homeopathic medicine we'd like her to take. And I said, I have no idea what to give her. And she says, yeah, it's right there in your office. I said, what? She said, go into your room where you keep all your supplies. I had a room that was quite large, full of hundreds and hundreds of homeopathic remedies and herbs. And she said, right there, you're right in front of it. So I'm on the phone. She's saying, you're standing right in front of it. I said, I don't see it. Right there, it's on that shelf there. And I'm looking, I'm saying, I don't see where you're talking. She goes, it's right there in front of you. And she said, it's a blue box. Now, remember, she's in Michigan. She said, it's that blue box. And I'm kind of half excited and half kind of chuckling because I can't believe I'm doing this. I said, you mean this box? She goes, yes, it's about time. Yes. And I looked, and it was one for inflammation, infection and inflammation. So we gave that to we actually mailed that to Michigan overnight, and the lady started using it, and that was the end of her spinal problem. But like I said, the lady, my Atlantean friend, she was on the level. She really, I had no reason to doubt where she was and who she was and what she knew. I could have learned a lot from her, but she only came here for a short stay. She said that was her contract. And then she was gone. And she said, you can talk to me anytime you want. I'm always available. But she meant psychically. So if you can access her and talk to her, but I'm not a psychic ability person. This is, this is what I use when I talk to people. So I didn't. She neglected to give me her phone number, unfortunately. And you know what? She was a character. One day when I was in Michigan, somebody said, "Could you tell us your Atlantean name? We'd love to go by that." She laughs and goes, "Oh, honey, you couldn't even pronounce it if I told you." So I can't reach her by phone, unfortunately. But I mean, she was here for a short time, and she did a lot. She taught a lot, and of course, this is a topic I won't go into it. It's another good discussion for another day. But if it was so damn good, why didn't it stay? Why didn't it take off? And I could give you a whole lecture on healing devices and systems that would have changed the world. It's not just my opinion; it's other people's. They would have changed the world. And did they? No, they disappeared. People, it's like things will come into the world and it'll elevate the vibration a little bit. Then it's gone. We're not supposed to go fast. We're supposed to go up in little notches. So I don't know why these color cards didn't last. I don't know why color therapy is, I don't know. Just things come in and then they work for a little bit, but then people move on. It's very strange, just the way people are. I don't know. It's a philosophical thing. It's almost like we want to live here, and we say we want to progress spiritually, but we don't really do. We want to take baby steps. And my personality is I want to take big steps. That's just me. I don't want to take little steps, but I think for the most of the world, it's people take little steps. So I don't know. Any other interesting questions?
I found it fascinating that the colors that you have and then the additional colors, the black and the pink. My question is regarding the pink. I was reading about this lady that was doing ribbons and they were salmon color, and she wanted to bring cancer awareness by using the salmon color, and this company approached her. Actually, two companies approached her because they wanted to buy her idea, and she wouldn't sell it to them. So they went back to their attorneys. They came up with the fact that, oh, you just changed the color. Well, they didn't know what color to change it to. So they went and they did, different, they found out what color appeals to people. And they came out with the pink ribbon. And then from there, everybody knows it took off from there. Pink is pretty much recognized as the cancer color. But my question is, pink. Why pink? What's behind the pink?
Off the top of my head, I don't really know why. There's emotional reasons for pink. There's physical reasons for pink. There's the psychological, mental, there's the spiritual, and then there's the things with the pink that we don't even know. I know pink has something to do with the love frequency, the self-love. And I've been told that nobody loves themselves like as much as they should. Even when somebody says they love themselves, they don't love themselves as much as they should. We all have a little voice in our head that says, "Yeah, you're worth loving," but we all have a but. We all have a but. So no matter how positive you are about how loving you are, you say, "I'm a good person. I'm a loving person. I deserve love." But then there's that little voice that says, "But," and it comes from the idea that we don't feel like we deserve all the love that's available. So we actually we meter it, we shut it down a little bit. And that's partly one of the things we have to learn here is to open up to love, accept love, and not judge ourselves. Because to shut down love, the first step you have to do is judgment. You have to decide that somehow you're not quite good enough as you should be, or not as good as you could be. And then you actually close the door just slightly on the love thing. So we have to deal with the judgment thing. But that pink helps with all that, with the love, accepting love, self-love. I thought I would have sworn I read this somewhere. I know I did. You could probably look it up. They did a thing with prisoners, and a lot of the prisoners were having issues with anger and blah, 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 and not eating and causing trouble. And they painted some of the cells pink, and their entire personality changed.
Baker Miller pink.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the pink is a very interesting color. So I think what we'll do is begin to release some of the information that we have that came from Atlantis on the color. But people are welcome to go online too and use their own ideas on color, because that all works too. So that's the nice thing about color. There's different dimensions to it. But what's on the internet is all good. I don't think it's any bad information.
And I understand from Kevin that we're going to have, soon we'll have color in our SRC as well. This is all great. Dr. Kersey, will you give your websites again?
Biotheory.com and biotheoryenergy.com.
And can they call you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that 407-383-5919, that number that's what that number's for. That's a business number. People can call anytime they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's almost 11, so we probably should. This has been phenomenal. Are you going to be teaching, perhaps doing some Zooms on this special knowledge?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, we're going to work, and I think you and I had some things we were going to talk about.
Yes, this is exciting.
Yeah, very good.
Anybody else?
Oh, Dr. Kersey, I just wanted to ask, are you planning on having like a workshop in which you bring the colors that you're preparing and so forth, and demonstrate them in person instead of on the Zoom?
The trouble with, you know what? What's going on with travel right now? I don't know how we would get a big group of people coming, because they're on the brink of coming out and telling everybody that we're all going to die tomorrow. And, you know what I mean? So, and I know we're out of time, but we've all been hearing that August is a special month. Something's supposed to happen in August. Everybody I know on the internet that does workshops and podcasts, I mean, some of these people have listenerships of 500,000. They're very knowledgeable folks, and they may not agree on everything, but you know what? They're all agreeing that sometime in August there's a shift, and I'm hoping that's true. I'm hoping we see some kind of daylight breakthrough, and maybe we could start doing workshops then, you know. So I hope something good comes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Cathy's website is now at the top of most of the search engines, and with your permission, when you get pictures put together, can we put something on her website promoting you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think I would eventually like to have a weekly podcast on the special Atlantean color disc. Once a week, talk about color and stuff. And there's enough things we can cover without getting too much into the negative part, with the things like cancer and stuff. They just and there's the jab, the V word. That would be ridiculous to come out and start saying, "Oh, we have a cure for that." That would be stupid. At least at this point in time, that would be, we couldn't do that. But we can. There's enough stuff to cover. Believe me, I got all kinds of things we can cover.
Okay, well, this is really, really exciting. So,
very good. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yes. Anybody else before we sign out?
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, this was great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you
Kersey.
very much.
Very informative. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Very, very nice. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This concludes the SRC4u Zoom call for July 30th, 2021. Thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you again. Till then, take care and be well.